Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Job Shop USA. My name is Keith and we're in the shop. Now I needed an introduction into this video because I was running it right after I got done surface grinding the drawbar. Alright, now I'm going to bring you in real close because I put the drawbar in and then we're starting to work on our next thing. And the video is going to lead off on the lead nut for our cross side. Well, time flies while we're having fun. No, actually, time flies while I'm working on customers' work. Anyhow, I put my covers on here because I'm doing a few things. I'm doing a few things all over the place here. This cover here was jerry rigged with another piece bolted on here, and I forgot how they had it fixed in here. I pulled out the spring plungers they're supposed to be in here. One was a replica made. Hey, in the best that somebody made one, but I need to make a Keith Fenner spring plunger to hold the cover, and I've got to make the new plate that receives that on here. So I'm going to be 3D scanning that to create that whole shape right there, and I'm going to be water jetting out the plate that's going to go in here, and then we're going to clean this up, straighten it up. We're going to fill in those holes that don't need to be in there, and this cover is going to be able to snap on and off. The secondary cover, we picked up the right screws, and I re-drilled this hole a little higher to match this one here so that everything went together. This I straightened and beat it back into shape a long time ago, and I threw on some paint, and then I hit it again with some paint that I had left over, and I got quite a bit of brush strokes and everything else in here. But I'm going to hit it now with the sander, and I'm going to put a nice gloss coat on it, and it's pretty well all set. There's still a few things to touch up on this. I need to turn this little shoulder underneath here. I've got the rollers in here. I don't have the keepers, but I did adjust it in here. Brand new bearings, and I was waiting for the shims to put on each side of the bearings, and I got those in, and I put this back in here, and I think I can just run it like this, and I can show you that we have motion on our drawbar, and that's what that bar is all about. And now that the drawbar is done, we're going to go ahead with the cross slide lead screw and the nut. Okay, we're going to be making our lead screw nut out of this round piece of ductile iron we have, and we're just going to be squaring it up right now, and then when we get an opening over in the closing, we'll go ahead and set it up, and we're going to do the Acme thread for the inside. And we got to order a piece of material for our lead screw, and then we're going to be turning that after we make the nut. Alright, I had to check on my setup here because, well, it looks like it's cutting square, right? I was just starting my third surface there, and I happened to just stare down at it, and I could see a gap on the bottom, and I go, is that thing cocked or what's in there? Okay, and Okay, you can see you're open on the outside here. I put my indicator here after I took my part out of here. I had just a couple days ago perfectly dialed this thing in both ways with my test indicator. So I know this head was in perfect condition or alignment. And I was milling out a key, and I was running my part down in the T-nut slot. So I had no issue there. And it's been a long time since I actually just put something in and was just trying to cut a square. And you should be able to take any of your angle locks and be able to cut a reasonable square. Maybe a half a thousandths or whatever. You could have a little bit. I wasn't looking for that. I mean, we're making a nut, okay? 3 sides are open air, so it really wasn't that critical. But I am really, really hard. I have a couple of these cheap Chinese knockoffs, and they're not all that bad. I mean, they do get the job done. But I'll hold a 3-inch shaft in here to cut a keyway or do something else, and I'll have that 3-inch shaft, 2.5, 2 3/4, 3-inch, 2-inch. I do them all hanging out there. So I'm grabbing a hold of it. I'm tightening it up pretty good, and I don't know. This probably is 30 years old or so. All right. I've worn out one completely and just threw it right in the dumpster. Um, I couldn't take a chance on the threads. But in my finding, I verified that this has got 20 thousandths in it. Here's a 20 thousandths feeler gauge. I can feel this. I put my indicator here and I go up and down on this surface right here and I'm reading 10. Of course, it's a test indicator and it's a little bit at an angle, so it's not going to read you exactly right. But it within a thousand or so. So I verified that it's bell mouth. Okay. So it's open on the top. I took the square, I put it in here. I can see a little bit of light there, but it's not like 10 thousandths or anything else like that. If I had exactly squaring over here in the middle, it might be. That's where I'm setting up, is right in the middle. Okay, so now I'm going to pull this off of the machine here, and I'm going to set this aside. But now that I've got my Brown & Sharp surface grinder running, I will go ahead and parade rest this, set it up from the base, grind the base, grind the sections, match everything up, grind the jaws, and I'll restore this to a reasonable squareness once again. So in short, we're not going to get our nut off this vise. This is my backup Chinese vise, and I had to swap out the jaws. I had taller ones that I made for other projects. These bronze castings I do that skegs. So I went into the weld department because I had this one in the welding department there. I was using it for something holding there, and I found this one in the cabinet where it belongs. And oh, let's see if that changes when we tighten that down, because we couldn't have got that lucky. Within 1 thousandths. Okay, let's go to the center here. For what we're doing, 1,000 is close enough. All right, now we want to go up and down. We're within 1. Okay, now we can go back to cutting our square block, and I believe we'll be able to straighten out. We'll go ahead and we'll set it up, and we're going to correct that one first. Okay, all right, I like that. We're gonna be able to get our knot off this vise. 1638, 16385, 1638, 16375. I finished milling out the block. We're about 50 thousandths in all directions. Maybe a little bit more in the length there. We're going to leave the length on there until we're done. So the block is ready to go into the forejaw, and then we're going to drill a pilot hole, set up the minor diameter, and then we're going to thread it. Okay, but before we can thread it, we needed a tool bit to thread it. I only had certain sizes of materials there, and I happen to have a piece of 4140 because I just wanted to add a little bit more strength than just a regular piece of coral or 836. Turn this to 3/4, ramped it down, turn this down here to 1/2 inch. Then I notched it for the tool bit to sit in here, and we're going to run this tool bit upside down. But when we do run it upside down, then we needed to have a little relief on the front side, and then I gave it a little angle. So all in all, let me hold this up here in the way I'm going to run this. I still have to take some off of the back, but we're going to have 200 thousandths of Acme thread sticking out. We only need 130 for the major depth, but we need to fit that inside a 600 diameter hole, and we're going to need the full length here. We're going to be doing a left hand, so I'm going to start on the inside, backside, and feed outward. All right, now we got to go silver solder this on here and then trim the rest of this off. I'm using my little torch set, and every time I use this little torch set, it reminds me of my dad putting his foot to my ass for leaving the bottles on. I'm going to try a little light flame, and you got to get everything hot at the same time before you add the silver, and just hope that I don't create enough of anything to make this like jump off or fall off. Hold position. I have that center hole in the very front that I can actually dip a little silver solder in there, and hopefully that will hold everything in there, and hope that everything keeps the temper. Awesome. I let it cool down a little bit, but then I quenched it in the sink there so that I could pop the flux off of there. I'm real happy about minimum amount of silver across the top of the tool bit there. I'll hit a little tiny stone and I'll clear that off of there. But the leading edge and the trailing edge there looking real clean. Good bond there. I think if I totally get rid of the background of me there you go. All right, I got to go dress off the mass of this here so that we can be flush with the back side here. I kind of finished grinding all the clearance. I think that should fit into our bore now, be able to give me that thread. All right, I'm just going to do a little dress on the top of the tool bit. All right, I got it cleaned on the top there. Just a little warmth on the tip there, but I'm not going to be worried about it. Okay, my last but not least check here is because I was going, hey, we better check this in the bore, see if we can we can put this all the way through the bore, okay, and then we can engage it fully into any of our threads, and we get to look at it from there, and we get to look at it from right here. So I center punched it, took a scribe. I just set it at 400, so that's 800,000 circle there. That our outside diameter of our thread is 7/8. The inside bore is going to be 5/8 because we have a number 4 pitch. Number 4 pitch is 1/4 inch from one thread to another. So half of that is the height, and the difference between the height and the root per side, or divided by 2. So I took and put a spring-loaded plunger for the tap in the center, eyeballed it, and then after that I put my surface gauge up here and I forejawed to that line, and I'm pretty happy with what we have there, because we're going to be about 50 thousandths of material extra on the outside of this whole thing. So I'm calling that center of the threaded hole. I'm just going to center drill just a nub here so we can spot drill is what we're doing, because I'm not going all the way in and put the center in there. We're just going about the depth of that. That's a spot drill enough for me. All right, we're just going to put a 7/16 pilot drill in here. Now we're going to change this out to a 5/8. Hopefully this is our finished size hole, and it's going to drill maybe a thou or two just over. We just want a little bit of a clearance. We could have anywhere from 626 to 629 would be preferable. Okay, we made one little test pass here, and okay, we're going to go into 0. We feed this into our other 0, right about in there somewhere, and we're going to start marking this here now. Okay, this is basically going to be like 5 thousandths on it. Here we go. That looks pretty good in there. Okay, I'm going to take one more pass, and then I'm going to take a little bit of material off of the bar right here. The top side here, I have about 25 thousandths clearance in here. I have another 20 or 50 thousandths to go, so I know that I'm going to be rubbing a little bit on the top here. The bottom looks like I got every bit of 50 thousandths clearance. So we'll make this pass, and then I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to leave it in the tool block, but take a grinder to it and then put it back in, locate it in the same spot. Shouldn't disrupt our cut and location. It should just give us more clearance on the bar. That clearance looks a lot better in there, doesn't it? You can see a little bit more gap in there. All right, we just increased it another 5. Here we go. Every couple threads I want to look in there. All right, we got this and 2 more passes, and we should be to diameter here. Okay, and my dial says 75 here, which would be the mark for 125 per side. And then we'll take a couple spring cuts. Just to let tool pressure relax. Okay, we're gonna get a good look at it. Okay, that looks pretty cool. We're still narrow. We made this tool narrow, so we know we're narrow on the male. So we're gonna have to feed in and out now with each compound and make passes until we widen out the root we're machining and narrowing the thread that's in the bore until we get it to fit our original shaft at one end where it's still really good material. We're going to use that for the gauge. All right, we're getting ready to adjust the width of our thread. You saw us use this indicator to bring us back to 0 so we could go in, and then you saw us marking on our dial out here how much we're coming out to feed our thread. That also verified on the amount that we're rotating around on here, but we always came back to 0, which was our run-in spot. This indicator is mag-based to the carriage and then hits the tool block in the parallel or in line direction of the compound. Pretty close to it, not exact, but that's how I set it up. So we're going to be adjusting back and forth to get our width. Our tool bit is about 0.14, and its thread is 0.125. So we have about 5 thousandths we can take off the width of each side of the thread in there. Feed in till we get to our 0 here. Come into our 0 basically there, give or take 100 thousandths or so. Okay, we come back out here to our cut depth, and now we're gonna go ahead and feed in first. We're gonna do 5 thousandths going in. Okay, we should have marked it. We should have marked that. Okay, this is back to a 0. Now we're going to come out 5. Okay, we're going to come back to our 0. Okay, we're going to check the fit with our rod. I took a small boring bar, just skimmed out and got my 7/8 radius right here. You can see right here, because my hunch was that I wasn't quite out the diameter when I was putting my test bar in. It was going in, but it was like angling out. It wasn't just getting tight, it was angling out. So that's a way of telling you that your bore isn't quite the size. But I wanted to verify it by a visual, and that's my visual right there. So I'm going to take it out another 4 thousandths, and because that's what it looks like to me. Out to at least making sure that blends out to that diameter right there. And then we'll go back to making our width, and then we'll check our thread fit again. Combination of feeding it out a little bit more, and also going side to side. I've got that fat end to start, and let's check this one. I haven't checked this one yet. I think this is actually a better fit up here to use it by. Okay, we're going to put our second block in, because we're going to do a pair, because I want one for backup, or if I happen to scrap it out in the rest of the steps, I just want to make sure that I have a pretty decent nut. And I am. You can see that I blued this, and I can see the last little bit was on the top there. So I did that, and getting this in. I don't have any backlash in there, so it feels good. And of course, when we make the new screw, we're going to be making it to fit the thread. So I'm going to make another one to fit this same area right here. And then when we machine the lead screw, we're going to go for the tightest one that we can. And that's the one we're going to go with. We've reset our dial. We're in 1, 2, 3, 4. We're in about a dozen passes here, and waiting for the next mark here. Here we go. we're a little more comfortable now on the second one, and also too, we know we've got to make the OD a few thousandths larger than nominal size to give it a little bit of clearance over the crown, so the pitch fits a little better. All in all, this is a pretty good test for our tool bit, because we're actually making two parts. And I will put this tool bit off to the side in my toolbox here, just in case I ever have to make out another one here. I don't know how long it'd take me to wear out two, but let's just worry about wearing out one. And right now we're just worried about making one, a really good one.